This is a short demonstration on how we can use a raster image to generate a grid in Petrosys PRO. As you can see, I have a mapping window here with a raster image displayed in the map, and we want to convert that into a grid. So what we do is we click on the raster image, right click and select Edit to open up the Spatial editor, and then access the tools that we can use to generate a grid from the raster image. Once that opens up, we can then select on the Operations menu and then select Create Grid from Raster Image. As you can see there, we had a pink bounding box, which is our area of interest, and we can edit that, and I've done this before just to speed things up a little bit. So we can edit the area of interest, and then we can specify how we want inputs to work. So the first tab that opens up in the Grid Raster dialog is the source box, so we can edit the source image, and you can see here that I've used these tools down the bottom, which are to either exclude the outside or inside of polygons that we've generated. So I've generated a circle and used the shift wheel and the scroll button to exclude the inside of that box there, which was a figure label B, and I've used these tools here to draw a box around the scale bar to remove that area. Once we're happy with that, we can just click OK and then move on to the next tab, which is the Image Preprocessing tab. In this tab, I've added 4 color filters to exclude. So I've selected a color filter, which is the black, and that is the text, and I've clear those select pixels. I've also cleared out the blue, which is this line, this grey-yellow color, which are the contours, and lastly this purple color, which is the edge of this line. If we zoom in, we can see that that has a purple edge onto it, and I've excluded those as well. So if we click on the pre-processed image now, you can see all of the areas that we've excluded. So we've excluded the text, the box for the color gradient, the figure label, and the blue line. Then we can go on to value extraction. So if I go back into my source image, I've used this color gradient here to define the values, and I've used the dropper to select those colors that align with those values and set those up here to create a color gradient. And these are used to interrogate the pixels and generate a Z value in the grid. The next step is to go on and set up our grid. So from previous testing, I've realized that 5,000 by 5,000 meters cell size gives us the best result. We can set up our area of interest, set our CRS that we want to use, and then select any gridding parameters that we want to use as well. And we can also, on the last tab, generate some contours. Once we're happy with all of that, we can click on Create Grid, and now it's going to go away, interrogate that raster image, and pull out all of the colors that are equivalent to a Z value and generate a grid from that. So now we've generated our new grid, and I can compare that to my raster image. So now that I've generated the grid, I'm going to close the Spatial editor, and I will go back into the mapping window and select to display a grid. I'll display the Petrosys grid file, which is the extracted grid I've just created, and I'll just put on a translucency here of 30, and we'll click OK to that so that we can display our grid above our raster image, and you can see we've done a pretty good job of matching that there. We can then use the Spatial editor to go and tidy up those contours and regrid any areas that we want to fine tune. So that's how we can create a grid from a raster image. So I hope that was useful, and thank you for your time.